Good afternoon, everybody. The time is, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of the Mount Isa City Council. The time is now 12:01 p.m. and I now declare the meeting open. I'd just like to start off by Mount Isa City Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Kalkadoons, and recognise their continued connection to the land, the water and community. And we pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Please note that this ordinary meeting is being live streamed and recorded in accordance with the Council's recording of Council meeting policy, which can be viewed on Council's website. It is aimed that recordings will be bookmarked, archived and made available for viewing on Council's website within 72 hours from the conclusion of the meeting. As a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in chambers, it is assumed that your consent is given if your image is inadvertently broadcast. Please be advised that no protection is afforded to the public for comments made during the meeting which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and determined to be defamatory or slanderous. Councillors, council officers and public are required to adhere to the Council's standing orders policy, model meetings procedure and chambers condition of entry. I'd now like to Could I put forward the motion that Council receive and accept the following council leave of absence, and that's Councillor Paul Stretton. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Second, Bowick. No.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All those in favour? And that's carried. Can you hear me better? Oh, sorry, I'll put it closer. Sorry about that. Okay, so that takes us now to item 2, and this is our clergy representative, Merlin Manners, and he's from the Anglican Church, and he's going to provide the meeting with a prayer. Thank you.
I'm going to give a short reading from Proverbs in a moment, and then I'm going to have some interesting remarks to make about contemporary society. So I'm going to read 2 verses from Proverbs, chapter 30, starting at verse 15. Interesting verses, can be confronting to some. The leech has 2 daughters. Give, give, they cry. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, 4 that never say enough. The grave, the barren womb, land which is never satisfied with water, and fire which never says enough. So the reflection is titled Never Enough, and a subtitle says, because we have lost the Garden of Eden, we seek to find what lies beyond our grasp. We are characterized by a relentless restlessness that either propels us to true achievement or reduces us to a permanent state of dissatisfaction. Allal believes that many people in the Western world are plagued with the latter problem, a state of dissatisfaction. He writes, the easier their work gets, the more they complain of deadly tedium. The more reasons they have to play and enjoy themselves, the more they get bored and go off in search of some inexpressible novelty. This indicates that the search for a purposeful life remains elusive for many. This is hardly surprising, for the symbols of happiness created by our consumer society hardly resonate with the themes of the gospel, where servanthood takes priority over self-aggrandizement, where reconciliation is more important than self-promotion, and where relinquishment is more valuable than much having. Little wonder that, when the members of society pursue materialistic values and lose a holistic vision for life, they quickly become bored or frustrated. But since life is a responsibility structure requiring giving as well as receiving, those who only ever take will soon become sated and immune to life's great calling, to love their neighbour as themselves. And much having fails to bring us into the promised land. I'll close with the Lord's Prayer, the older version for those who know it that way. So let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever.
Thank you so much for that. And it's good to hear that sermon, because it was a very good reminder that how lucky we are at the moment. And thank you for taking the time to come down and deliver prayer. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us now to item 3. So the business of the agenda is suspended by the chair to give the public in attendance the opportunity to address the council.
I'd like to commend the council on the footpath upgrades they're doing around the place. It improves the speed getting around sometimes. I do have an issue with within the town, the footpaths. Some get broken glass on and it sits there for weeks on end, and we go over it and move it around and nothing happens. Is council able to do possibly once a week thing on the footpaths around town to somewhat brighten up the town? Because only around Rodeo and other main things, anything really big happens. So I'm just asking whether something like that could happen once a week or once a month. So I come in, I do report things, but I don't see anything happen after being reported, so I'm just at the stage where I won't bother now.
And are you finding that after you report it, it gets fixed? No? Okay.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you for doing the reporting. I'm sorry the footpaths are in that state. I'll go and have a chat with the director about having some further maintenance done. We have engaged another crew to work on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning to try and pick up that glass and pick up the agreed entirely. So we've had a crew of 2 people going around the city centre doing that. We are also in the final stages, if I remember, and the director may help me out here or not, that we're looking at trying to clean all the chewing gum and everything else off the footpaths by using a machine that uses steam to do it. We're a bit worried about using the gurney gun because the gurney gun takes away some of the particles that are on the little stones on the footpath. The tactile ones?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's from the scooters.
Some of it's through you, Madam Mayor, some of it's simply through wear and tear. So those are due to be replaced by the end of the financial year.
And we also do have that an app that you can use called Snap, Send, Solve. So I would, if you are keen to download that, I'd love to know how, if you could trial using that app, and all you got to do is take a photo. App Store. Yeah, so if you go to the App Store and it's called Snap, Send and Solve, and and then you can just take a photo, and then it sends directly to Mount Isa City Council as a case. And yeah, oh, it does, and
Through Madam Mayor, it does that.
it does. And the good thing is also that you don't have to physically come into council, and or it's just something you can do on your phone as you're going along. Stop, take a photo, send it, and I'd really like some feedback on how that goes once you do that. All right, thank you. All right, and we have another question in the public gallery.
Thank you for taking my allow me to speak. You're going to discuss the security cameras.
Yep.
I contacted the police station, which I should have done a week ago. Around about 3 weeks ago, Playtime's Christmas decorated window was smashed. Nothing was stolen. Just for fun. That shop window was smashed. Very expensive glass to be replaced, so it cost the owners, a lot of money to plug it up there.
Yep.
Rang up the police station to see if they could tell me whether the camera, which is directly opposite Playtime, whether they caught people for doing that. They couldn't tell me. Come attend the meeting, perhaps, and take, no, they were too busy. But anyway, I should have done it a week ago. So you're talking about putting more cameras in. If the existing cameras aren't doing their job, well, they should be fixed first. The police station did tell me they're monitored 24 hours a day, so if there's a crime, I should be able to look it up the next day. But they couldn't tell me where they caught the vandals who broke those two expensive windows. That should be all investigated before you decide to spend more money on more cameras if they're not doing the job they're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question, and the cameras we're actually getting in are funded, so it's not actually ratepayers' money we're spending. We actually got a grant for this. Now, the cameras aren't monitored, so are not.
The police
They are,
told me they were at the police station.
so what they do is, so no one's actually watching the monitor and saying
Oh,
there's a
no.
crime happening.
They can.
So, but what that happens is you report a crime, they'll go to the camera footage and they'll look up the approximate time and day and try and see if they can catch the crime happening on the actual monitor, and that will help them with apprehension. And it also serves as a deterrent as well, because you know if there's a camera there that they can see you. So there's a lot of good reasons to have more CCTV cameras in the community, and eventually we may be able to get them actually monitored. So it's a really good.
They are.
Not
They
in,
are.
at the time, but they can record, if there's a crime, then they can replay it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But there's not. So the last I heard, there's not someone physically sitting there watching the screens.
Oh, just through the chair, there is, where the TV, it's all changed from when it first come in through Mount Isa City Council with the police and also with Glencore, the first lot of funding that come in. They have changed it from then, but where the screens are all set up now, there is a shift supervisor that sits there and he can turn and watch, if something is happening, if they get a call over the radio. They're not, like the Mayor said, they're not sitting there permanently watching it. But I know before the CEO started, we did do a lot of work. There were a lot of cameras that were down, but the council and the police have worked quite diligently in getting those cameras up and running. They probably wouldn't have been able to tell you if they did catch them or not because of privacy issues. So, but I do know I've worked very closely with the CCTV, and they do work, they do stop crime, and I know it's a very valuable tool that the police use when prosecuting people.
Yeah, but they broke two major windows in West Street, which is the main business street. They haven't caught the victims for doing, the bandits for doing that, then what's the point of
But what I'm saying is they probably can't tell you if they have or not due to privacy issues.
No, well, it's
I-
a privacy issue. They vandalise the business.
Can I just say, as a person who's a victim of exactly this issue, that even when they do capture the perpetrators, there's no benefit to, except for catching them. No one comes along and fixes your window for you, so you're still out of pocket for that broken window. So there's a lot that needs working in that space, for sure. But even if they catch the perpetrators, that does not mean that you get restitution. You know, it should mean it. It'd be lovely if it was the case, but it's not the case, from my experience.
Well, that should be every week. It should be reported if the current cameras are doing their job. Because if they didn't monitor those two cameras in West Street, smashed windows, then what's the point of it having them anywhere else? So there's got to be follow-up to see if the present ones are working, doing the job they're supposed to do.
Look, I know they're a tremendous help to the police, and the police are very supportive of us putting more cameras throughout the city. And that's why we're going out to the public at the moment saying, you know, can you identify particular areas that you think would benefit from having a camera there? So I think it's going to really be a help. And in fact, you're the only person that's come up and said this. Most people are very supportive of having more cameras.
Yeah, but they might say there's a camera, but are we getting any results from it? And the West Street crime, perfect example.
Well, what we can do is we can approach the Mount Isa Police and see if we can get some data for you. Would that?
And it should be
Yeah, and maybe that's. Yeah, and well, look, we'll get some data, and it'll be interesting from our perspective as well.
excellent.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your question.
I'm very happy. Also, can I bring up another subject?
You certainly can.
It's got nothing to do with council. Council spends money on promoting Mount Isa as a tourist destination. Their budget's quite generous on promoting. If I get mail sent, or if I get a package from, say, I live in Mount Soldiers Hill, that has no mention of Mount Isa. And though it's a federal issue, which I don't take it like that, I would like the council to support any action to be taken to go back to, we live in Mount Isa, and more promoting Mount Isa on our letters, which, if you get parcels, you know, if you live in Winston, but that could be South Australia, could be anywhere, they drop the word Mount Isa, and yet the postcode is the same.
So the most important thing you can do when you're addressing your envelope is put our postcode. That's the most important thing that you can, that anything, so you could actually just put your street address and our postcode, and I'll guarantee it'll get to you. So I guess we're sort of falling in line with the rest of the Australia, where they do have suburbs and they use those suburbs. But definitely take it up with Bob Carter Senior, and
So I'd just like to know if that support from the council to promote Mount Isa as a city, and not Soldiers Hill, not Mornington. They could be anywhere in the country. Mount Isa is
yeah.
but I live in Soldiers Hill, there's nothing.
Look, it's definitely handy for data collection, you know, knowing what's happening in what suburbs. So that's really handy for us as a council, you know. Yeah, on a local aspect. So it's very handy for us that we've got identified suburbs. But I know what you're saying. But yeah, I would make an appointment to see.
Open up a new account, a new business. Mount Isa, so they look it up, Google, and Mount Isa's come up, it's Soldiers Hill.
Yeah.
I said, no, I want Mount Isa address. They said, no, it's Soldiers Hill. And so
It can be very frustrating, especially with call centres when they're not even sometimes in the country, so they don't get it. But yeah, look, definitely noted, and I would make your next appointment with Bob Carter Senior, and have a chat to him.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Now we have some very excited kids. Oh, sorry, before we get to that point, sorry kids, just one more minute. Item 4, I just want to talk about the conflict of interest. Councillors are invited to declare any interest in relation to the agenda, including any late items presented. Councillor interests are noted against the relevant items in the by the minutes clerk and action during the meeting.
Nil.
Nil.
Thank you. Which takes us now to what some kids have been waiting for very patiently, is presentations, and this is the Library Master Plan Survey, and we have the presentations of the winner for the master plan. Now, this was very, I'll come over. So, over the December-January period, residents of Mount Isa were invited to take part in the community consultation for the Library Master Plan on how we make the library an even better place to read, learn, create and connect. This consultation was done with an interactive community survey and a design competition for our younger people. The interactive community survey was done online and received 130 completed responses. Place Design Group, the company engaged by the architects Fulton Trotter to do the community consultation, drew the winning entry through a random number generator. The children's design competition was judged by Paul Scavari and Scott Moore, and Fulton Trotter Architects and myself and Councillor Peter McRae. So this was a very, very tough decision, and there was so many good designs by these kids, and we spent a lot of time trying to pick winners. Would you like me to announce the winners? Drum roll. The winner of the adult community survey is Louisa Stalling, and the winner of the designs competition is Charlie, don't want to pronounce this wrong, Cahoon, age 7. So please come out to the middle and we'll hand you your awards. And I've got to say how good those kids were. They sat through the first 15 minutes and you wouldn't have known they were here. So that takes us through to item 7. And, I'm trying to jump the queue here. So that takes us through to item 6, which is the previous council meeting minutes. Could I have someone move the motion for the officer's recommendation?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 10th of February 2021 as amended be confirmed.
Thank you. Can I get a second for that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. Item 7, Development and Land Use, Councillor George Fortune. There's no nil reports for consideration. That takes us through to item 8, which is Works and Construction. I'll hand you over to Councillor Mick Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item 8 was the
We've got nil reports.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
sorry, that's why I couldn't work out Oz. There's 3 on the iPad and 1 here.
Just
That's
throw-
okay. Thank
throw-
you.
Throwing you in the deep
So
end
nil.
there. Yeah. Okay, and that's the same for item 9, which is the beautification of parks, gardens and youth for councillor Kim Coghlan. There's nil reports. And now this takes us to item 10, which is tourism, events, sport, recreation and library, and that's hand you over to councillor Peter McRae.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation that council approves sponsorship in the amount of $32,500, including GST, to be major sponsor without naming rights of the 2021 Mount Isa Show at Buchanan Park, subject to the following conditions listed, conditions 1 through to 6.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Coghlan. Because you moved the motion, councillor McRae, would you like to speak on this one?
Yes, I would. That is traditionally more than what we have given the show in the past, and it is an indication of what we'll give into the future. We're just keeping in mind that last year the community went without a show, and traditionally what has happened, we give sponsorship and then the show pays quite a substantial amount back to us in the form of rent for the venue.
Yep.
So we're hoping that this extra money will help the show, give the show society, give the show community a really great show, and maybe even be able to reduce the cost perhaps to allow more people to come.
That sounds
along.
fantastic. Councillor Coghlan, would you second that motion? Would you like to speak on that?
No, all good. I think councillor McRae's wrapped it all up very, very well.
Very well. Would any other councillor like to speak on this one?
Through the chair, yeah, I concur with what councillor McRae said. I think that they've got a very proactive committee in recent times, and it was a bit sad they missed out last year, so I think the increase is well warranted, and I think that's another way that council and the community can contribute back to the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that said, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that takes us to the next one for councillor McRae.
I'd like to move once again the officer's recommendation that council approves being a host city and providing sponsorship in the amount of $20,000 cash ex GST to be a Birdie Spirit partner of the 2022 Outback Queensland Masters Golf Tournament.
Can I have a seconder for that motion?
Barwick, second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor McRae, you moved that motion. Would you like to speak on behalf of that?
Yes, I would. We had the inaugural event for the Queensland Outback Masters. A lot of you will know it from the by the name of $1 Million Hole. That's how it was advertised last time. It was a really successful event and brought a lot of people following that tour into town, and the event's only growing, so I think it'll be great for us to be involved.
Thank you. And Deputy Mayor, you second that motion. Would you like to speak on behalf of that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and I agree again with councillor McRae. I think following on from last year, the increase in tourism and visitation that we'll get from events like this coming through to the Outback is well warranted, and I think it will be a good spend. I also believe there's some discussion about possibly continuing on into the 100 years event in 2023, and we may in fact try and put in for being the final destination for that.
Through the chair, will we able to make that a condition, or no? That is not appropriate to be in a condition.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we've made it very apparent to the organisers that would be the preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, through the chair, I think that would be fantastic if we could have that $1
Definitely.
million hole in one in 2023. So I look forward to that outcome.
Definitely, and I believe that has been put forward.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Anybody else with that one?
No.
No. If there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us to item 11, which is the environmental management report. And would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation for that one?
Through your chair, so I'll move 11.1, the water and sewer report for the monthly, that council receives and accepts the January 2021 Water and Sewer Monthly Report.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that? Did we miss one then?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Second that. Thank you, councillor Fortune. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of that?
Yeah, thanks. In the absence of Councillor Stretton, I'll do my best. Look, there's an executive summary here, so we note that water main replacement commenced mid-January 2021 and saw the water main on Salamoa Street successfully been upgraded by the close of the month. Apparently Soldiers Hill has some of the oldest water infrastructure in the city, and replacement will continue in this area as part of the Capital Works program. Renewal of the road crossing water services has been undertaken on Salamoa Street as well, and the West Street also. This will continue into 2021 as part of the Capital Works program. A second flow meter has been installed to the high level zone outlet in January 2021, and the pits have been completed and are awaiting fabricated lids. The Department of Natural Resources, Mines and Energy has conducted an audit in October on the compliance of Drinking Water Quality Management Plan and Water Supply Safety and Reliability Act 2008, so that's continuous monitoring being undertaken. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And it's good to see that the reservoirs 3A, 2 and 6 now have a fully operational automatic dosing systems installed. So, Councillor Fortune, you second that motion. Did you want to speak on?
No, I'm fine, Madam
Thank
Mayor.
you. Would anybody else would like to speak on this one?
Just a couple of questions for the executive. Thanks, Madam Mayor. The tanks that are not operational, I think it's 3A and 1. Is it? Are they? How's the planning for the refurbishment of those tanks going?
I believe we're out to tender at the moment. That works. So,
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more comments on this one? All those in favour? And that's carried. So that takes us to the next one, which is the Environmental Services Monthly Report for January 2021. Did I miss one? That takes us to the Waste Management Monthly Report for January 2021. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move through the chair.
Thank you,
That
councillor.
council receives and accepts the January 2021 Waste Management Monthly Report.
Thank you. And can I a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, councillor Tully. Councillor Fortune, would you like to speak on behalf of this one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The waste management operations were mostly executed on schedule in January, with delays to waste and collection services due to vehicle breakdowns. Recycling options for waste product stockpiles and the resource recovery are being explored by the waste management team leader, including concrete crushing and timber mulching. Green waste compaction yielded promising results as the current stockpile breaks down for potential use as landfill rehabilitation product, and steel baling continues through January, the completion of which is now anticipated in February. The Camberwell Waste Services are under review by the waste management team leader to ascertain improved local waste transfer solutions to curb the issue of illegal dumping in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on this one?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
And any other comments on this one? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. So that takes us to 11.3, which is the Environmental Services Monthly Report for January 2021. Would anyone like to put forward the officer's recommendation?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move that council receives and accepts the January 2021 Environmental Services Monthly Report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Can I get a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on that motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just looking for the executive summary here. So we have an executive summary, which I'll follow. The Environmental Services Department delivered the following services during January 2021. They responded to 6 service requests in relation to public health concerns and 1 request regarding food safety concerns and 3 requests in relation to littering and illegal dumping. They conducted inspections of 27 food premises and issued reports to businesses outlining non-compliances observed during inspections and advice on corrective actions that were required. There was developed and released 5th edition of Council's food safety newsletter named the Food Safety Essentials. The newsletter was emailed to all food businesses licensed by Mount Isa City Council. They also undertook monthly groundwater monitoring at the Council's landfill site, undertook landfill gas monitoring at Council's landfill site, and organised installation of illegal dumping signage for the Hotspot grant program at 7 new locations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Councillor Fortune, would you have any comments on this one?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Just an overview of the armed services requests and complaints as compared January 2020 to January 2021. There's a total of 83 in January 2020 and compared to 55 in 2021. And a few of those notable issues were related to around asbestos complaints of dumping. There's also a food safety and inquiries and clarifications around the complaints too as well. 46 in 2020 and 33 in 2021. So there's a number of initial requests coming through for clarification and complaints as well, and they've been handled pretty well by our environmental services team.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Would anyone else want to comment on this particular one? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. Which takes us now to 11.4, which is the Local Laws Monthly Report for January 2021. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
No, I'll just get a seconder. Oh, move it, sorry. I jumped the gun, sorry.
Item 11.4, the Local Laws Monthly Report for January 2021. I'd like to recommend that Council receives and accepts the January 2021 Local Laws Monthly Report.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. And a seconder for that one?
Coghlan.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think just the main thing is that the microchipping is now done on site and generally the same day before the animals get released to whoever adopts them, I guess. So I think that's pretty important because I know we do have a problem here in town with feral cats, and I think that's probably the reason why that is the public are feeding the feral cats and then they're mating with the domestic cats, and so it is a problem. So the microchipping will certainly help. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to speak on this one?
Yeah, just going again, if Mount Isa City Council can keep pushing in the media and promotional of the cat traps that would help the feral cat problem. As we all know, it takes a lot of wildlife out of the way. And also I know local laws have been quite busy with a lot of overgrown houses and allotments, so they have been busy trying to get those all mowed, so, yep. But they are doing a very good job.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. Any more comments on this one?
Through the Chair, just a question, Madam Mayor. The abandoned vehicles, we have around 10 for January. Is that fairly normal for the month, or does that sound like a lot? Over a year, I guess that if that was an average, it would be 120 vehicles that we'd possibly end up with. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can find out in more detail, but I would suggest that's an average amount. It may be a few more, and it may be that we've had a few more reports come in of vehicles as well.
Yeah, it'd be good to know. I mean, that's a lot of cars at the end of the year to shift on.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And for myself, are we still investigating hard shade structures for the drop-off zone for the animal management facility?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes we are, and that would be complementing the blinds that are already put in there as well.
Thank you. If there's no more comments, all those in favour? And that's carried. And that takes us now to 11.5, and that's participation in development of the NWQ ROC biosecurity plan, so the North West Queensland ROC biosecurity plan. Can I have someone move the officer's recommendation for the motion?
Through the Chair, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move that council participates in the North West Queensland ROC's intended process for the development of an overarching biosecurity plan across the North West Queensland by contributing $4,000 to the from the annual biosecurity budget.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor Fortune, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Yes, thank you. Through the Chair, this plan or this proposal strengthens the regional biosecurity plan. I think it brings in a lot of information to all of the councils involved, which is nine of the Northwest Queensland councils, and it helps control pests like weeds and brings in a better plan for dealing with feral animals like dogs and cats. And it also brings in three other councils that don't have plans that are paying obviously more to get the plan developed, but it will mean the entire region has a coherent plan that will help manage biosecurity threats.
Thank you. Councillor Tully, do you have any comments on this motion?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments across the floor? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so this takes us now to the item 12, which is corporate and financial services, economic development, promotions and development, and I'll hand you over to Deputy Mayor, Councillor Phil Barwick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll move 12.1 that council receives and accepts the January 2021 customer service monthly report.
Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Councillor Barwick,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of that motion?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. So during the month, there's a total of 1,710 telephone calls answered at the Mount Isa City Council call centre. Majority of calls referring to missed bin collections, broken bins, animal management, water and sewerage around water leak matters. So during the month, we took an average of 81 calls a day during January. Of interest, we implemented an after-hours call centre through Vodafone to cover the 2021 Christmas shutdown period, with the service continuing from January 2021. The calls are answered between the hours of 5 p.m. and 8:30 a.m. daily, and 24/7 weekends and public holidays, by a guaranteed English-speaking and accented Vodafone staff members. Calls are directed from Council's main telephone number and answered as "Welcome to Mount Isa City Council, how may I help?" And then urgent matters are escalated according to the call flow chart and script drafted by Council to Council's rostered on-call staff. Non-urgent matters are recorded on Vodafone's daily report for further follow-up as appropriate. So these are reports that submitted to Council on the previous shift and dealt with by Council on-call staff, providing a detailed record of after-hours call-out activity. So further, customer requests for January, there's 536 were recorded in the iCaseworks across the council departments. The top three being 134 water and sewerage issues, 91 requests for local laws and animal management matters, 80 waste management issues, and 71 property transfers and concealed leak, water leaks issues. Of the 536 cases, there are currently 429 of those closed, leaving 107 remaining open as of the 31st of January, with further action required. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I forgot who seconded that now. Councillor
It
McRae.
was me, but I think the Deputy Mayor covered that quite thoroughly.
He did. He covered it all. Is there any more comments? All those, yep.
Just,
Tully?
sorry, through the chair, that it was on Sunday there was a water was cut off in Soldiers Hill, and I've had a few people complain to me about it. I was just wondering, I'm guessing it was an emergency situation. That's why people weren't warned about it. But if I could just get someone, the water was cut off apparently Sunday afternoon.
So through you, Madam Mayor, there were issues in Soldiers Hill, if I remember correctly, that started occurring on either early Friday or late Thursday afternoon. I don't know if the directors are aware of those. There were some, so the officers responded to that and the crews were sent out there. I believe they went back and did some repair works to that on the Sunday. One of the things that the Vodafone after hours service is clarifying with people is the extent to which the problem requires immediate action, or whether it can be, and I've spoken to Councillor Fortune about this, whether it requires immediate action or if it's something that can be dealt with during working hours, to therefore try and minimise some of our overtime costs that are applied. So there is a script there that's with the Vodafone person to try and lead the customer or the resident through a process to actually determine whether it is a substantial leak that requires immediate actions, or whether it's something more like a very slow leak in the footpath or something like that can be dealt with on a Monday or a weekday. Because I had the same discussion with Councillor Fortune.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think just I don't think it was the issues that I think it was just generally they get constituents get notice, and I think that was their only issue, and they rang and complained to me, and I tried my best, and which they were happy with.
Yeah, and look, there's nothing worse than having no water on a weekend, especially if you don't know when what time frame you've stuck with no water as well.
So wherever possible, there's a relatively young employee there in water and wastewater, and she usually goes through the process. She has access, Maddie, access to upgrade the Facebook page with all of those issues as well. So if people have a look on if they think they're one of a number of people that are reporting an incident in, it's perhaps a good idea to have a look at the Facebook page, and you'll see whether it's been reported and whether the crews are dealing with that. And I know that especially was the case when we were dealing with the water mains break near the schools 3 weeks ago, and that was all updated online.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on this one? All those in favour? And that's carried. And to the next one, Councillor.
Thanks, Madam Mayor.
12.2.
Yeah, 12.2, Promotions and Development Monthly Report. I'll move that Council receives and accepts the January 2021 Promotions and Development Monthly Report.
Thank you. Can I get a second for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Fortune. Would you like to speak to that motion, Deputy Mayor?
I would, thanks, Madam Mayor. We covered off a fair bit in January, and it's great to see the team, presenting council very, very well in all of these situations. I think our connection with the community continues to grow through our exposure through social media and through the radio and also the newspaper. There's some difficulties at the moment in concern with the news feeds into the social media, so we're not sure how we are sitting with that at the present time, but we are just monitoring it at the present time. I'd just like to mention also that there's a few surveys still open. Well, they were at the end of January at least anyway. The free first aid training courses, also the council event survey, and the Mount Isa 100 years celebration. So if they're still open, it'd be great to have people contribute to those. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the Deputy Mayor's just highlighted the fact that there are free first aid training courses available to the public, and it'd be a really good idea if people are interested in taking up that option on free first aid courses, because we haven't had a huge amount of people go through the free first aid
Have we got
training.
provision to contact the non-for-profits and let them know?
We're doing that as well.
Okay, we are.
Yep.
So if there are any non-for-profits out there, we have free first aid training, so please contact council. Would anyone else like to speak on this one?
I seconded the motion.
Oh, yes, sorry,
No,
sorry.
no, look,
Councillor
I
Fortune, would
think the Deputy Mayor's been quite concise once again on his coverage of it. I do agree with the use of social media and getting council's messaging out there, and the team's been performing very well in that area about getting the information out there. There's a number of topics covered, including COVID-19 and the Merrill column, the North West Star as well. Community newsletters, that type of information, and you know, all of the things that go to the events like the sign-on expo promotions, they were all pretty well done through our social media and communications.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. And I'd also like to remind people that as brought up by the public forum, we are requesting, I think this is the last week, to give feedback on where we should put CCTV cameras around the city. So if you do if you have identified any hotspots that you think would be a very good place to have a camera, please contact council. We'd love to hear from you.
Through the chair. Just on this one, CEO might direct me if I'm wrong, promotions and development. Now with the ban with Facebook on news stories and all that, what steps are council taking in trying to get more, you know, like it's going to get quite hard because they're only going to get our message?
So, through you, Madam Mayor, as the officer knows, we've already had a few discussions about how we go about putting out more media. I've encouraged the officer to put out as much media as she possibly can.
Yep.
One would hope that I was under the impression that the federal government and Mr. Facebook had come to some sort of arrangement at this point in time. Zuckerberg, I think. Yep. So if that comes into play, that will obviously go back to where things are.
Yep.
But regardless, the media environment is changing on a regular basis, and I'm very confident in the good work the officers are doing to try and put out as much information as they can.
No worries.
And that's a great question, councillor Coughlin. And I talk to people all the time who say, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that. And so not having a printed paper has really impacted on Mount Isa as a city. So it is really tough. It is really tough getting the message out there. And if you're not on social media at the right time, you do miss the feed. And that's where I think a lot of the problems are. So, yeah, I can't encourage people enough to get on the North West Star site and pay the subscription and support the North West Star. And I think as the council, we should be supporting the North West Star as well. Is there any more comments on that, on the promotions and development report? All right, all those in favour? And that's carried. That takes us to the next one, Deputy Mayor, 12.3.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. The RADF 2021 round one item. So I'll move that council endorse the RADF committee's recommendation to approve the Mount Isa Police Station to receive round one 2020-21 RADF funding for their project entitled Mount Isa Police Station Yarning Circle in the amount of $9,383.
Thank you. And can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of that motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, this is a great little project. I think, you know, the connections that it's going to build between the, you know, the police service and the youth of Mount Isa, and also with that Indigenous flavour across it, I think will you know, whilst it's an arts project, it has some really deep other social activity going on behind it, and I think it's well warranted. It's probably ticks a lot of boxes for our RADF program, and it certainly will be an attractive addition to the front of the police station, I believe.
Thank you. Councillor Fortune, you
Thank
seconded that.
Through the Chair, I think it's a good initiative to get out into Mount Isa. The potential there for the people of ATSI background especially is it allows them to come together and speak to each other in a safe area, and you know, it's in front of the police station might be a little bit of daunting for some people, but more and more these days, the interaction between police and the outside community is getting better and better. So it's another step, I believe, in a direction where it develops good relationships between organisations and our Queensland Police Services, and I think it'll have a benefit to council too as well.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Would anybody else like to speak on behalf of this one?
We've had there's no plan or anything here, and I have just got one question. It says it's out in the front of the police station, so am I under the understanding that car parks are going to be taken out? Or
Through the chair, look, the police have submitted a plan of where they believe the piece will be situated, which won't take out any car parks. So it's going to be. I know it's only a small piece of land there at the front, but they believe it'll work for them.
so no car parks being taken out?
No.
Anyone else on this one? No? All right. All those in favour? And that's carried. Okay, so that takes us through to 4.4. Back to the Deputy Mayor. Is that Deputy Mayor or? Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Madam Mayor. We've got an amendment to fees and charges schedule for the Splashes Aquatic Centre for 2020-21. So I'll move that Council accepts the amendment and additional items to fees and charges schedule for 2020-21 for the following items, and I'll ask the CEO if I'm required to read all these.
Through Madam Mayor, no, I think they're self-explanatory.
Okay, thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that
I'll
motion?
second that.
Thank you, councillor Coghlan.
Sorry. Through Madam Mayor, you might just want to indicate, given that this is live streaming, that it's for, that the things, the charges are for.
I will. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just going to do that one.
Okay, thank you. So I'll hand it over to the Deputy Mayor to speak on behalf of that motion.
Okay, thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, there's been some increases in product that we're selling at Splashes, and it mainly refers to water and soft drinks. The rest of the charges appear to be remaining the same, but it's just a case of increases for those product to Splashes, and we need to move that charge on. So just to give an example, soft drinks will be going from $2 up to $2.60, I think it is, around about that. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And councillor Coghlan, would you second that motion? Would you like to speak on behalf of it?
No, I'd just like to say a big thank you to the staff at Splashes, because in the public, I get so many good reports about the people that work down there, which is really good to see. And I know they're working on a few things with the schools as well. So, and I know we've got a lot of swimming carnivals coming up. So they do an excellent job and with very, very long hours. So just congratulations to them.
Thank you, councillor Coghlan. Any other comments?
I also think the staff at Pool are doing an excellent job, and I realise that we have to recover our 10 cents or our COEX money, because that's basically how the project's funded. But it's just we've put water up quite a bit and soft drink only a little bit. Like, it really makes not a lot of difference, but it would be ideal, I think, to have water a little bit cheaper than soft drink. Just if you're a parent, yeah.
I actually can't see what size water bottles they're talking about, to be honest, so it's sort of...
Well, it's just you've got water at $2.60 and soft drink at $2.60. Water used to be $2 and soft drink used to be $2.50, so the soft drink's being put up 10 cents and the water's being put up 60 cents.
Is that in almost 300 ml water? 375.
You could charge more for both, to be honest.
Through Madam Mayor, all we're simply doing is reflecting the charges that have been increased from suppliers. So that's where this has come from. So these fees and charges will come back again as part of the budget process as well. So that may be the best time to indicate if we want to discount water over soft drinks.
Anyone else like to speak?
No, thank you.
Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. So the next one is item 13, which is executive services, and this is the Chief Executive Officer, David Keenan. Can I get someone to move the motion for the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council adopt the councillor portfolio policy version 1 as presented.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and a seconder for that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of that motion?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. In the previous times, we haven't actually had a policy around adopting of councillor portfolios, and so this policy just falls into place with a number of other policies around the management of activities and involvement of councillors within council. So it just helps with us knowing where the rules are and where they stop and finish, particularly in the environment that we have now of where the legislation is ever increasing around councillor behaviour and activity. So this is an important document.
Thank you. And Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried.
I'm against.
Would you like
I
to?
have my vote noted, please.
Thank you, Councillor Coghlan. This takes us to item 13.2, which is the update of proposed ordinary minutes dates the 2021. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor.
Offers recommendation that council approve the proposed ordinary meeting dates for March to December 2021. Go through them all, Mr. CEO?
Don't need to go through.
Okay, as listed, but just noting that the start time is 9 a.m. in the council chambers.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor Coghlan, would you like to talk on this motion?
Yes, I think the new system that we're going to will be of great effect for the staff within the council, and would like to alleviate the fears of the public that they might have to wait a long time for things to go through. It's been put to us by the CEO how this will work. I think it will work very well, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And just noting
Oh,
in the
sorry.
public that we still have workshops and briefings as well, and that at any time a special meeting can be called if so issue arises by the Mayor or the CEO. Yep.
Thank you. And Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on this behalf of this one?
No, I just think, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just think it takes a lot of workload off the staff, and internal staff with meeting once a month, because it is, it is a huge workload for them. So yeah, I think it'll work well.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak? So the recommendation is actually that we move from fortnightly meetings to one meeting a month. And we're actually, I think we're accidentally dodging school holidays, which will also alleviate the workload for the staff who would love to take holidays over school holidays. So I'm quite keen to try the new 9 a.m. time and see if everyone's a bit more brighter. And yeah, so I think it doesn't hurt to try something different. That said, all those in favour? And that's carried. This takes us to the next one, which is 13.3, and it's the endorsement of the Small Business Friendly Councils Initiative. Can I get someone to move the officer's recommendation for this motion?
I'll move, Madam Mayor, that council officially endorse the Small Business Friendly Councils SBFC initiative.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'll just say it's a government-led initiative, and they've asked local governments to become part of the Small Business Friendly Councils initiative, and you know, we're always supportive of our small business in town. I think that's reflected here by the number of councillors that are small business people on our council, and you know, we know it's an important part of our fabric here. So I think this is one of the small things that council can do to contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms Councillor McRae, what do you have?
Okay, I'm all good, thank you.
Any other comments on this one? Right, all those in favour? And that's carried. Takes us through to 13.4, and that's the appointment of the new independent member for the Audit and Risk Management Committee. Can someone move the officer's recommendation for this motion?
So,
Thank you, Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 13.4, the appointment of the new independent member for the Audit and Risk Management Committee. The officer's recommendation that council endorse the appointment of Mrs Kerry Ann Phillips as the new independent member of the Audit and Risk Management Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
McRae.
Thank you, Councillor McRae. Councillor Tully, would you like to speak on behalf of this motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we had a pretty significant interview process. Councillor Barwick, Councillor McRae and myself, plus a couple of independent people that were on the panel as well, and Mrs Kerry Ann Phillips. She came across as having a lot of experience with chartered accounts, and I think that she will fit into the audit and risk team extremely well, because this the Audit and Risk Management Committee is a integral part of council and how we do our governance and all that. So I think it will work very well.
Thank you, Councillor Tully. Councillor McRae, would you like to speak on behalf of this
No,
motion?
I would just endorse those comments.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'm just, and I have total faith in the appointment, but where is Miss Kerry Ann Phillips from? It doesn't say. Like,
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm trying to remember off the CV, but I know she is also on the Gold Coast City Council Audit and Risk Management Committee. So I'm guessing I'm pretty sure she's based out of Brisbane.
okay.
And I believe she's on a number of other committees, but I'm happy to be corrected by Councillor Tully.
She's on, CEO, I think she's on 2 audit and risk committees, two council.
Rockhampton maybe, was it Rockhampton as well?
Yes. Yeah,
She had an impressive CV anyway.
Okay.
yeah, and she spoke very well too. I think she'd be a good fit.
Thank
Through the chair, if I can just add, Mrs Phillips has a solid employment history with local government as well, including Townsville, I believe, and others where she's been held senior roles in the accounts and finances section.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right. All those in favour? And that's carried. Well, that now brings us into closed business. So council will adjourn now briefly and then recommence in closed business. Okay. I'd like to move the motion that pursuant to section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012, council resolved that the meeting be closed to the public for discussion of the following matters. D, rating concessions, and C, the local government budget. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. I'd like to move a motion that we now reopen the council ordinary meeting. Can I have a
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. All those in favour? And that's carried. So this takes us to item 15.1. Would anyone like to move the officer's recommendation?
I'll move, Madam Mayor.
I'll second. Oh, sorry, we've got to read it first, sorry.
Yeah, I know, I did that before.
Moving my IT around here, okay. I'll move that council approves to agree to a full deferral of rates and charges, including the accrual of interest rates and the ex gratia payments for the 2020-21 financial period for property assessment 0439-75000-000 due to the financial impact suffered because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that council approves the deferral of rates and charges only if the property owner of the assessment 04391-75000-000 agrees to pay the deferred 2020/2021 rates and charges and ex gratia payment in the first quarter of the 2021-2022 financial period.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder?
Seconded.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak on behalf of this recommendation?
I think, Madam Mayor, this is, a way that council can support businesses and organisations that have suffered significantly from the COVID, and we haven't had a terrible lot of these, apart from stuff we've done generally, so this is a specific case, and I think it's well worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fortune, would you like to?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments?
Through the chair, when the deputy read it out, I'm just checking that the one is in it. He didn't say the one. 0439, and then he said 75, so it should be 04391.
Was that the first one or the second
Yeah,
one?
first one.
The first one, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Got to pick them up. One can make an awful difference.
Anyone? No more comments? All those in favour?
Well done, Inspector.
And that's carried. That takes us through to 15.2, and this is, would anyone like to put forward the officer's recommendation?
Through the chair, I'll move the officer's recommendation that council approves to extend the engagement terms of Lacton for four in brackets, months until July 2021, utilising the exemption to tendering in the Local Government Regulations 2012, Section 232, A in brackets and B in brackets, on the basis there is only one supplier who is reasonably available and has the requisite specialised knowledge and background in the project to be undertaken.
Thank you, councillor Fortune. Can I get a seconder for that motion?
Second, Barwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Fortune.
Yeah,
So-
through the chair, there's a number of projects important to council that are underway at the moment that have been handled by this group, and we just need to keep those projects flowing and keep on top of them.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, would you like to speak to this motion?
Yeah, just a quick comment. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I support the recommendation. It's, we have quite a deal of projects under management at the moment, and I'd like to see a few of those come to fruition as soon as possible. So this is an important part of that. Thanks.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Okay, all those in favour? And that's carried. Well, thank you, everyone. The time is now 1:34, and I now declare the ordinary meeting closed.